The scent of old wood, disinfectant, and simmering beans was the smell of Evelyn's childhood. It was the smell of the Lagos Children's Home, a place that was both a sanctuary and a cage. As the firstborn, the title Eve wasn't just a nickname, it was a role. She was the primal protector for her two younger brothers, Michael and David. She shared her food, fought their battles, and tucked them in at night, whispering stories of a future where they would be a real family, under their own roof. On her 18th birthday, the law dictated she had to leave. The goodbye was a quiet, tearful affair at the heavy iron gates. Kneeling to look her brothers in the eye, her voice was fierce with a promise she carved into her own soul. "I will come back for you. As soon as I get a job, a place, I will come for us. Be strong for me." Their small, trusting hands clung to hers until the very last second. The city of Lagos outside was a relentless beast of noise, traffic, and competing energies. For a year, Eve navigated its chaos, moving from one cramped shared apartment in a face me, I face you building to another. She juggled menial jobs, a cleaner in a restaurant, a shop attendant in a fabric store that barely covered her rent and meager meals. Her dream of a stable life for her brothers felt like a distant star. Then the call came. The home was on fire. Her heart stopped. Panic seized her until a follow-up call confirmed a miracle. No fatalities, only minor injuries. But the structural damage was severe. The real blow, the one that truly shattered her, came a week later. The primary sponsors, a foreign philanthropic organization, citing the extensive costs of rebuilding and the new heightened insurance premiums, were withdrawing their funding. The formal letter stated it was a strategic reallocation of resources in light of the unprecedented incident. For Eve, it was a death sentence to her promise. The financial burden of her brothers' housing, food, clothing, and, most critically, their impending high school enrollment now fell squarely on her slender, already straining shoulders. The star of her hope flickered and went out. Desperation became her new shadow, a constant companion that whispered of failure in the dead of night. She pounded the pavement, her CV becoming tattered from rejection. She was either overqualified for the menial jobs or underqualified for the office ones. Luck was a currency she didn't possess. In her darkest moment, sitting on the floor of her single room, counting out coins for dinner, she turned to her only true friend, Emma. Emma, with her glamorous apartment in a decent part of Yaba and a wardrobe that spoke of silent, effortless wealth. Emma, who was a high-end female escort. "Of course they can stay," Emma said without hesitation, her eyes softening at Eve's shattered state. "For as long as they need." Eve's brothers moved into Emma's spare room, their innocence a stark contrast to the source of their new shelter. Eve knew what Emma did for a living. It was a truth that had hung between them since their friendship began. On several occasions over glasses of cheap wine, Emma had tried to coax her into the agency. "The money is life-changing, Eve. Look at me. In 6 months, you could have your own place, your brothers in the best schools." But Eve always refused, the very idea clashing with the image of the woman she wanted to be for her brothers. Now, with the high school enrollment deadline a mere 2 weeks away, and her thrift clothing business, a small stand in the market, generating barely enough to feed herself, Eve felt the walls closing in. The guilt of relying on Emma's generosity was a constant gnawing pain. She saw the way Michael sometimes looked at Emma's expensive gadgets, a quiet longing in his eyes, and she feared the day her friend would grow tired of the added responsibility of feeding 2 growing boys. One evening, after visiting her brothers at Emma's place and watching them do their homework with such hopeful concentration, something inside her broke. The love she felt for them was a sharper, more demanding force than her pride or her fear. As she was leaving, standing by Emma's sleek car, the words tumbled out, raw and stripped of all dignity. "Emma, recruit me. Get me into the agency." Emma didn't smile in triumph. She simply looked at her friend, seeing the defeat and the resolve in her eyes. She placed a hand on Eve's trembling shoulder. "It will be fine," she said, her voice unusually gentle. "In no time, you will get used to it." And just like that, Evelyn became Eve in a different, darker sense. She entered a world of curated smiles, false names, and transactional intimacy. She was given a new name, Zahara, and a wardrobe that wasn't hers. The first client was a blur of shame and detached focus. She went to the bathroom afterwards and vomited, scrubbing her skin raw in the shower until it hurt. It was a silent private hell, but it was a productive one. The money was immediate and substantial. In 2 weeks, she had made more money than she had in the entire previous year. She paid the high school fees at a reputable private school in full, bought new uniforms, shiny new shoes, books, and a brand new suitcase for each of her brothers. When she dropped them off at school, their faces radiant with pride for their amazing big sister who landed a great corporate job, the acid of her secret burned her throat, but their joy was a temporary potent balm. She had kept her promise. She moved them out of Emma's place and into a clean, secure 2-bedroom apartment in a better neighborhood. She decorated it herself, buying a proper sofa and a table where they could all eat together. Life, on the surface, was finally great. Years bled into one another. The work hardened a part of her soul, but she built a fortress around her brothers' lives. Then, on her 25th birthday, at a quiet lounge bar, she met Robert. He was different. He wasn't ostentatious or slick. He was genuine. An entrepreneur with a passionate fire in his eyes when he talked about his tech startup. He was charmingly awkward in his sincerity. He treated her not as an object of fleeting desire, but with a reverence she had never known. For Robert, Eve was a mystery he was desperate to solve, beautiful, intelligent, and possessing a quiet strength that resonated with him. He hadn't felt a connection this profound in a long time, and he was determined to do right by her. Eve, who had walled off her heart for a decade, found the defenses crumbling under his consistent kindness. Love was a luxury she had never afforded herself, but with Robert, it felt effortless. When he asked her to be his girlfriend, she said yes, her heart soaring even as a lead weight of anxiety settled in her stomach. The lie of her life was now an active fault line running directly through their relationship. Her plan, however, was in its final stages. She just had to save a little more to fully secure her brother's university education and living expenses, then she would quit for good. She couldn't burden Robert with her responsibilities. His own business faced its financial roller coasters. In fact, on several occasions, when Robert encountered critical cash flow challenges that threatened to sink his startup, it was Eve who quietly came through with a substantial loan, presenting it as savings from her successful importation business. He was always immensely grateful, calling her his lucky charm, their partnership seeming perfect in every way. After 2.5 years, under a canopy of stars during a picnic, Robert proposed. Eve, tears of genuine joy streaming down her face, said yes. The following Monday, with a confidence she hadn't felt in years, she walked into the escort agency and quit. The sense of liberation was dizzying. She was free. She poured her energy into her thrift business, which had grown, and into planning their wedding. For the first time, her future looked not like a struggle, but like a dream. Everything was perfect until it wasn't. One evening, a month before the wedding, they were curled up on her sofa, laughing over a movie. Robert was nuzzling her neck, his phone in his hand, while Eve's phone lay screen up on the coffee table. A message popped up, the preview clear and devastatingly explicit on the lock screen. It was from Emma. Hey, love, I know you're out, but a high-profile client from Dubai is back. Remember him? He's asking for you specifically, offering $1 million for one weekend. I know it's risky with the wedding so close, but are you willing? Think about it. The world froze. The laughter from the TV seemed to mock them. Robert's affectionate nuzzling stopped. He had seen it. The laughter in his eyes died, replaced by a slow, dawning horror, a confusion that quickly morphed into understanding and then into utter devastation. He picked up her phone, his face turning ashen, and read the message again and again, as if hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something else, anything else. Robert, I can explain, Eve whispered, her voice trembling violently. But no sound came from him. He just stared at the screen, his body rigid. She followed, her pleas tumbling out. The orphanage, her brothers, her desperation, her love for him. She begged for forgiveness, for understanding, for a chance. He heard none of it. Or he heard all of it and was shattered by the totality. He stood up, placed the phone back on the table with terrifying precision, and walked out of the living room. He did not shout. He did not cry. He was mute. He packed a bag, his movements robotic, efficient, while she begged, her words shattering against the wall of his silence. Robert, please, say something. It was years ago I quit for you, for us. He finally paused at the door, his hand on the knob. He didn't look at her, his gaze fixed on some distant, painful point. When he spoke, his voice was low, flat, and utterly alien. I need to think, he said. Don't call me. The door clicked shut. The sound was quieter than a gunshot, but it echoed just as loudly. The next morning, dawn light streamed into the bedroom. Eve's eyes were raw and swollen from crying. She reached out, but the other side of the bed was empty and cold. Something she was not used to. The next 24 hours were an agony of silence. His phone was switched off, directing her to a cold, automated voicemail. No text, nothing. He had simply gone, leaving behind only the chilling echo of his silence and the glittering, now meaningless diamond ring on her finger. With no clue whether he would come back and face the elephant in the room or gone for good. Alone in the apartment they had chosen together, surrounded by the remnants of their perfect future, the wedding invitations, the dress hanging in the closet, Evelyn curled into a ball on the floor. Panic curdled into a cold, sharp dread. The wedding was in 4 weeks. The caterers, the venue, the guests, everything was waiting. On the second day, her phone finally vibrated. It wasn't Robert. It was Emma. So, about the Dubai offer. He needs an answer by tomorrow. 1 million Eve, one last job. What should I tell him? I've stared at the screen. Robert was gone, believing the worst of her. Her future was in ruins. The fortress she had built with such sacrifice had finally crumbled, not from the outside, but from within, burying her under the devastating weight of a promise kept and a love lost. The price had been paid in full, and the cost was everything. The end. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.